Hello, authors, and welcome to this week's video. I'm Miranda Darrow, freelance fiction editor, and this week we're diving into a topic related to our genre of the month. This is about writing a mystery with an amateur detective. This is a new topic for me, and it was fun to dig into what makes a mystery with a nosy granny or those pesky kids so different from one that's starring Hercule Poirot or Sherlock Holmes or some of the other trained experts. Sure, they're bungling about, but they're also solving crimes. So here we go. Writing a mystery with an amateur detective. There is something endlessly appealing about the neighbor, the librarian, the baker, the bookshop owner, or the retired school teacher who gets drawn into solving crimes. These characters captivate readers not because they have official badges and forensic training, but because they rely on smart intuition and determination. If you're thinking about writing a mystery with an amateur sleuth at its heart, let's break down what makes these stories tick and how they differ from police procedurals, and how you can craft one that's fresh and engaging. First, let's define what's an amateur detective. An amateur detective is one who investigates crimes, usually murder, but it doesn't have to be murder, without being part of law enforcement or without having formal investigative training. They might be driven by personal stakes, curiosity, or a sense of justice. Unlike the police, private investigators, or legal professionals, amateur sleuths stumble into crime solving because somebody has to step up, and that someone happens to be them. There are subgenres that often feature amateur detectives. Cozy mysteries almost always have an amateur detective. They are set in small communities with low on-page violence and often a recurring cast of friends, family, and quirky townsfolk. Think of Agatha Raisin, MC Beaton, or modern series like The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. Historical mysteries, from medieval monks to 1920s heiresses, historical mysteries often pair an amateur sleuth with a richly detailed setting. An example is Maisie Dobbs by Jacqueline Winspear. And domestic suspense often have an amateur angle. Everyday people uncovering dark secrets in their own homes or neighborhoods. Think The Woman in the Window by A.J. Finn or Big Little Lies by Leanne Moriarty. And then we have the podcasters and those other pesky kids who want to solve a mystery though they have no personal connection to the case. Or do they? And then we have comic or caper mysteries. Amateur detectives can shine in lighthearted, even zany mysteries where wit is as important as clues. An example of this is Finlay Donovan is Killing It by L. Cosimano. How do amateur sleuth mysteries differ from police procedurals? Amateur sleuth stories focus on intuition, community ties, and personal resourcefulness. Crimes often disrupt the sleuth's own circle, making the mystery personal. The tension often comes from the sleuth working outside of official channels, sometimes in conflict with the police. Police procedurals or legal thrillers often highlight official process, chain of command, institutional resources. They focus on how the crimes are solved by professionals and systems, and they're often more focused on realism, protocols, and the gritty details of investigation. It's not always that realistic when you have an amateur detective because sometimes they just happen to have a really close friend who has the information that a cop would have and they wouldn't have access to it. And we just need that to happen because we need to solve this. What are some common themes and tropes? The outsider's insight. The amateur detective spots what the pros overlook because they understand the social undercurrents and they have unique local knowledge. Then there's secrets in plain sight. The crime solution is hidden within the communities so that the sleuth knows very well, where everyone has something to hide. The reluctant investigator. Your sleuth didn't mean to get involved, but circumstances and their own conscience wouldn't let them walk away. Not all of our sleuths are reluctant, but that is a common theme. And small towns, big secrets, especially common in cozy and domestic mysteries where the settings, charm, contrast with the dark undercurrents. The clash with authority. Police can be dismissive or outright hostile to our amateur sleuths' interference and adds friction and stakes. Here's some writing tips for a compelling amateur detective story. Ground your sleuth's motivation. Why do they want to risk their safety or their reputation to investigate this crime? Personal connection to the victim, a sense of justice, or curiosity gone too far are solid drivers. Play fair with the readers. Just like all mystery, readers want to solve the puzzle alongside your sleuth. Scatter real clues and red herrings with care, and make sure you give them everything they need to solve it, just like your detective has. And leverage the setting. Let the setting help or hinder your sleuth, whether it's a tight-knit village, a bustling city neighborhood, or a historical era's limitations. Build a great cast of suspects. Amateur sleuth stories shine when readers meet vibrant, layered characters who could possibly be guilty or not. Balance tone with stakes. Even if your story leans light, give your sleuth some real emotional investment and believable danger. And let your sleuth grow. They may start out bumbling, but through the setbacks and small victories, your amateur detective should develop confidence and skill. Some recent examples of amateur detective mysteries. The Maid by Nita Prose. This one was huge. A neurodivergent hotel maid becomes an unlikely suspect and then sleuth in a locked room style mystery. The Marlowe Murder Club by Robert Thorogood. A group of older women in a sleepy town investigate murder with plenty of charms and sharpness. Only Murders in the Building, the TV series on Hulu, features a trio of amateur detectives with a true crime podcast and a lot of personal baggage, and they tackle mysteries that are happening in their New York City apartment building. I love that one. And then Queens of Mystery on Acorn TV. A young police officer and her crime-writing aunt team up unofficially to solve murders in their English village. Finally, amateur detective mysteries are beloved because they tap into the idea that ordinary people can do extraordinary things, and that justice, even if messy, is hard-won and worth chasing. When done well, they invite readers into a puzzle and a community that they don't want to leave, despite all the murders. If you'd like to help brainstorm your amateur sleuth and build a twisty plot, let's chat. Tune into this YouTube channel next week when we'll introduce a new genre or subgenre. I'm working on something special for October, so be sure to tune in. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share. I post new content every week. This is Miranda Darrow wishing you happy writing!